Good evening, everyone. My name is Zachary Lupin, and thanks for joining us for tonight's Starlink mission. If you joined us for our previous launch attempt, you might know that we had an abort called out at the T-minus 5 second mark yesterday due to an alert on the second stage.
Falcon tanks are pressurizing for strong pack retract.
But the team performed checkouts today, and despite the lack of views due to the heavy fog at Vandenberg, all is looking good for tonight's launch attempt. On your screen right now is a live, very foggy view of our Falcon 9 rocket on the pad at Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. And just to help you visualize it, we've added an outline of the rocket to give you a better idea of what we're supposed to be seeing at the pad. Now, while they won't be visible, the clamp arms will be opening just below the payload fairing. The clamp arms are attached to the transporter erector, or TE, and that is the truss structure next to the rocket that is used for rollout and to route propellants and electrical power to the vehicle in preparation for launch. Once those clamp arms are fully opened, the strong back next to the rocket will then begin to move away from the rocket in preparation for liftoff. As a reminder, tonight's Starlink mission marks SpaceX's 48th launch of the year and 247th overall mission to date. Currently at the T-minus 3 minutes, 37 seconds mark, the range is ready to support, and even though it's very foggy at Vandenberg, weather is looking great for an on-time liftoff at 9:09 p.m. Pacific time. Teams are currently tracking no issues with the vehicle or spacecraft, and coming up next at the T-minus 3 minute mark, we should hear that Stage 1 has completed liquid oxygen loading.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
And there's that call out that Stage 1 LOX loading is complete
Stage
on
1
our Falcon.
Pogo.
On our Falcon vehicle. The Falcon 9 first stage is fully loaded with RP1 and LOX, and we're awaiting completion of LOX load on the second stage in about 50 seconds from now. Now, it'll probably be pretty hard to make out the white clouds around the Falcon vehicle due to the fog, but there are white clouds around our Falcon rocket, which is the chilled gas above the LOX tank liquid surface that we vent overboard to maintain pressure in the tank as needed. And when that gas comes out into the California air, the humid moist air condenses into clouds and water. Coming up in just about 20 seconds, we should hear a call out that LOX loading is complete on the second stage. The booster, or first stage of the rocket that you see on your screen, is flying for its 10th time today. After liftoff and stage separation, this booster is scheduled to land on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is currently stationed in the Pacific Ocean. As many of you may already know, successfully recovering parts of the rocket allows SpaceX to refly the most expensive pieces, which in turn drives down the cost of space access. Coming up in about 30 seconds, we should hear a call out over the nets that Falcon 9 is in startup, and this means that the flight computers have taken over the launch countdown.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And there's that call out that Stage 2 LOX loading is complete on our Falcon rocket. It is now loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
And there's that call out that Falcon 9 is in startup, and in just a few moments we should hear our launch director, or LD, give the final go for launch.
LD is go for launch.
And there's that call out that the launch director has given the final go to proceed for tonight's launch, so let's sit back and watch as Falcon 9 takes our 15 Starlink satellites into space.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. We have liftoff. Go Falcon 9. Go SpaceX. Go Starlink through 615.
Vehicle is pitching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
At T plus 30 seconds, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Slick 4 East from California's Vandenberg Space Force Base at 9:09 p.m. Pacific Time. The next major milestone coming up is max Q, which is when the vehicle experiences the greatest amount of external stresses as it ascends through the Earth's atmosphere.
Power and telemetry nominal.
And we should hear that call out.
Signal, Hawthorne.
We should hear that call out for max Q in about 20
Vehicle
seconds
is
from now.
supersonic. Max Q.
And there's that call out for max Q, which again is when the rocket experiences the largest amount of external stresses. Now we're about a minute away.
MVAC engine chill has started.
We're about a minute away from a series of events. These are MECO, stage separation, SES-1, and lastly, fairing separation. Main engine cutoff, or MECO, is where all 9 of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage shut down. This is followed by stage separation, which is when the first and second stages separate from one another. We will then have second engine start 1, or SES-1, which is where we light the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. And lastly, we'll have fairing separation, which is when the 2 fairing halves separate and fall away from the second stage. So keep an eye out for all of these events, which will happen in pretty quick succession.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation.
MVAC ignition.
And as you just saw and heard over the nets, we had successful MECO, stage sep, and SES-1, and we're coming up on fairing separation from the second stage in just a few moments.
Fairing separation.
And there's that fairing separation. We'll be attempting to recover both fairing halves using our recovery vessel Go Beyond. Both of the fairing halves that supported today's mission are flight proven and are both flying for their 6th time tonight. The next major milestone coming up is the entry burn on the first stage, which is one of 2 burns it'll go through to prepare for landing on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, in the Pacific Ocean.
Both vehicles are on a nominal trajectory.
Good call out there that both vehicles are currently following nominal trajectories. On the left side of your screen is our Falcon 9 first stage, currently on its way back to Earth towards our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. And on the right side of your screen is an amazing view of our MVAC engine on the second stage of Falcon, currently carrying our 15 Starlink satellites to orbit. The MVAC engine attached to the second stage is currently continuing its burn, which will last another 4 minutes. As I mentioned earlier, today's Starlink mission marks SpaceX's 48th mission just this year and 247th overall mission. Entry burn on the first stage is set to occur about 2.5 minutes from now, and this is where we'll light up 3 of the 9 Merlin 1D engines in order to slow the rocket down as it descends through the Earth's atmosphere. As a reminder, on the left side of your screen is a view of our Falcon 9 first stage, and on the right is a view of our MVAC engine on the second stage, currently carrying 15 Starlink satellites to orbit. The 15 satellites on tonight's mission will be joining the rest of our Starlink constellation, which is now delivering high-speed, low-latency internet to over 1.5 million people around the globe. In addition to our live view of the MVAC engine on your screen there at the bottom of the second stage, we also are getting live telemetry of the Falcon 9 first stage, located at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and live telemetry of the Falcon 9 second stage at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
Both vehicles are on their nominal trajectory.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Stage 1 FTS says safed.
And there's that call out for the Stage 1 entry burn. Stage 1, which we also call the booster, has ignited engines 1, 5, and 9 to slow it down for atmospheric re-entry.
Stage 2 FTS says safed.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And there you just heard the call out that the entry burn on the first stage has completed.
Stage 1 transonic.
And there you heard that important call out for SECO 1 or second engine cutoff 1, and we're now waiting on that call out for good orbit. Coming up in just a few moments will be the start of our landing burn
Nominal orbit insertion
on the Falcon 9 first stage.
Stage 1 landing burn.
And there's the start of the Falcon 9 first stage landing burn. We also heard that call out for good orbit.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And there you heard and saw our Falcon 9 first stage has successfully launched and landed for its 10th time. Today's landing marks our 208th overall landing of an orbital class rocket, including Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy missions. And with confirmation of second engine cutoff, good orbit, and first stage landing, that'll wrap up our coverage for now. As a note, payload deployment is expected to occur around the T plus 15-minute mark, but due to a lack of ground station coverage, we likely won't be able to confirm until a bit later. So if you're interested, check out the SpaceX Twitter account for updates. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.